Check, check. Promo.
If you've never heard that before, your alliance sucks. Go to Blink, get free stuff. Be cool on comms, baby.
Summer Blink. Micro lotteries that finish in minutes.
Mr. Mittani, how are you?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good, good. This is Spence from TEN, and I got Scott with me. He's a co-host of one of our Walking Dead podcasts.
Excellent.
Cool. Hey, man, really appreciate you taking a little bit of time to talk to us. We won't keep you too long, 20, 30 minutes if you're okay with that.
No problem. That's fine by me.
The whole purpose we want to talk to you tonight is everyone's going batshit crazy about Otec, so we wanted to see if you'd be willing to give us any information on it.
I'd be delighted. We've been pretty open about what we're doing with that, so sure.
I know are you in MechWarrior right now? Are you able to get in there?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, you bastard. Man.
I have to say I am hyper smug about it. It's actually we had scheduled a canoe trip for Memorial Day, so we're going out for the next couple of days. So I'm in, and now I'm going to get maybe a couple hours of playtime, and then the entire week I would be like, I'm on a canoe, but I could be playing MechWarrior.
See, all you got to do is maybe catch a cold, something,
fake illness or.
Priorities,
allergy to canoes. I don't know, but yeah, no, it's good so far. I've only gotten about 30 minutes into it, but so far, it'll probably take even more of my money than World of Tanks has. So
it's not like gay MechWarrior Dark Age. This is like old school, cool facet MechWarrior.
It is super old school. It's like 3049 old school.
Oh,
nice.
So no clan bullshit. There's some like Star League Lost Tech stuff out of 2750 or whatever. But yeah, so good time so far.
I'm so freaking jealous, man. I've been dying for that game to come out for so long. I'm like an old MechWarrior 2 Mercs guy. You like played, quote unquote competitively and shit on all the websites back in the day. And I've been following this like crazy and I've been waiting to get an invite. And of course, nothing. But what are you gonna do?
Well, I don't know if you saw this today, but they increased the number of questions on your beta forum, on your forum profile.
Oh.
So you should go log on to your forum profile there and fill out all those questions because they're handing out the keys preferentially based upon whether you've completed their new gimmick, basically. It's just a standard beta, like how many MechWarrior games have you played, herp to derp forum. It'll only take like 2 minutes.
Oh, that's awesome. Cool. Yeah, I'll have to do that tonight. Yeah, I really want to get in on that. Anyway, I'm sorry I'm sidetracking. Can you kind of just give a brief overview of what Otec is?
Okay, so Otec is a gimmick cartel. The gimmick, of course, is based off of OPEC in the real world. In EVE, the bottleneck resource that most income and most Tech 2 production goes through is an item that's mined off of moons called technetium, or technetium, however you're supposed to say it. And so what we did is we banded together the few remaining nullsec entities that control territory that has this resource, and we said, we're going to make a cartel. We're going to start, instead of shooting each other, which we've done a lot of, even while we shoot each other, we're going to work to fix the price of technetium. And it works out because due to a quirk of the game design in EVE, this resource, which is so critical, kind of like the Middle East in the real world, is only available in the northwest sector of the galaxy. And so 75% of the game geographically is pretty much screwed when it comes to getting a hold of the stuff.
Cool. Now, who's in the cartel as of right now? Which major blocks?
The Clusterfuck, which is Goonswarm Test and all of our friends. Evoke, which is the Germans. Pandemic Legion, which holds most of Venal as far as tech goes there, Northern Coalition, NC Dot, and that's basically it. It's an extremely small organization because there's only so much technetium. So
no, I was actually going to talk to you a little bit about the market impacts. You said you were price fixing a little bit. Do you have a end objective? Like, if you can talk to this, what are you trying to drive it up to, or are you just trying to do like you did with the ice mining app, just kind of play around with the market a little bit, prove that it's possible?
I delegate that, actually. One of the things about Goonswarm, which is my alliance, it's an extremely large entity. I think we're actually the largest in the game now. I think we broke 9,000 members not too long ago. I am a leadership and political type, and so I made Otec happen in the sense of coming up with the idea and implementing it and talking to the other autocrats involved. But the actual price fixing, I leave to our finance team. What we did is I've got 4 financier types. And what we did in order to make the coordination easier for everyone is that our diplomats already had the sort of smoke-filled back room of nullsec politics as a Jabber channel on a server we host called Jabberlon 5, which is, everybody uses Jabber and everybody's a big Babylon 5 fan, so Jabberlon 5, har har har. But we basically were like, you know what, we already have this resource and the infrastructure capability to have from all across nullsec people who are hostile to us on this Jabber server that's sort of like a neutral ground. Why don't we just make an Otec room on the Jabberlon server? And we did that, and we just started using the same system and infrastructure. We don't bring the leaders in because the leaders are in Jabberlon 5, and if they're like me, they wouldn't know how to run a market cartel if their lives depended on it. But we just get the finance guys from each organization in, and it's not a supply side cartel. It's not a supply restriction cartel. Technetium is a rare enough resource that we're not artificially restricting the supply. We don't have to. It's just a matter of, all right, guys, we want to make sure that people are selling it around, 200, 205, that sort of thing.
Now, on the topic of supply side, as you mentioned previously, for those 15 people who don't play EVE, it all comes from very limited quantity of moons that are mostly in the northeast quadrant.
Northwest, excuse me. Apologies.
I know during Soundwave's keynote speech, he mentioned ring mining and the possibility of including moon minerals there. How do you foresee this impacting the supply side, as well as how it might play into the market as well, and with Otec operations?
Well, Otec is obviously a limited-term organization. Once the supply of technetium is unrestricted due to nerfs from CCP, then the organization will collapse. Because it won't be able to hold a stranglehold and will be pointless. But until that time is ring mining, right? Until such time as ring mining is implemented, we're going to milk it for all that it's worth. We noticed in some public statement that was made recently, I think in an interview, I'm not sure whether it was Unifex or Soundwave, but it was mentioned that ring mining has unfortunately probably been pushed back until next year sometime. It's an amusing situation because I've always been against the technetium bottleneck. On my time on the CSM, I was vehemently suggesting that we do ring mining or have some other kind of nerf to this process. So I don't approve of the way the technetium is, but until it's nerfed, we are going to exploit it to the hilt.
Now, a quick temporary fix that I've heard kicked around a lot is perhaps tweaking the alchemy side of the house.
I always thought that would be a nice quick fix. Just add R32 alchemy, and then boom.
And that seems like something that they could fairly easily inject into the game and help alleviate some of the bottleneck.
Yeah, absolutely. That would very likely fix it. And that's been suggested before. And yet here we are.
And yet here we are talking about it.
I mean, the thing is this. It's sort of, I think that views are divided regarding this bottleneck, right? When the technetium bottleneck was introduced, it was the replacement to the to the promethium and dysprosium bottleneck that existed before they did the T2 production revamp. And it immediately set off a war in Geminate. And one of the things it seems to be that CCP kind of likes having these extremely high value targets because they foster conflict in theory. In practice, what's happened is that everybody involved in the Northwest now has enough and has spent so much time killing each other to get these moons that people have sort of hit a happy equilibrium in terms of riches, where it is wiser to secure what you have by way of a treaty, stop fighting over it, and just milk it. So I think the conflict driver has petered out. There are some forces that have come to try to take Otec technetium away against all authorities, sent some fleets to try to reinforce moons owned by Pandemic Legion. They expected that we wouldn't band together and defend them, but we did.
Now, was that the op that you actually undocked from the station and joined in on it?
I did. I logged into EVE Online. It was a terrible mistake, and hopefully I won't repeat it for another few months. But I did, and I shot some AAA with my new friends in NC Dot and PL, and it was all rather ironic.
Nice.
That's great. We were talking to we talked to Pukin pretty frequently, and you know how he loves to tell stories and whatnot. But he was talking about a combined fleet ops where Shadu led, and how it was kind of crazy, but things all worked out in the end. Was that the same one, or was that a different op?
That was a different one. Shadu has only recently come back to the game within the last week, and it's amusing because he now has an alt in a Goonswarm Corp and was leading a coalition fleet, or I guess an Otec fleet. We have our coalition, and then there's Otec, which is sort of turning into its own coalition, I suppose. Pandemic Legion and Goonswarm seem to be snuggling an awful lot ever since Grath and I decided that we liked each other. So
that's cool. Now you've got like I guess we can call it this multi-prong approach going with this. I don't want to call it a market attack, but it's more like a market campaign. We've got the Otec thing going on. We had Burn Jita, and we also have Hulkageddon getting ready to kind of wrap up here, which you guys backed this year. And it looks like Hulkageddon this year was just a tremendous success, and it's all pointing toward this market control. How do you feel about how Hulkageddon went?
I feel that Hulkageddon went very well. One of the things that was disappointing about previous Hulkageddons, which we weren't involved in, is that the incentive structures were not aligned in a way that would result in mass chaos. Most of what I do as an autocrat and just as an EVE player is analyzing people's motivations and figuring out how to get them to do what I want. And one of the things about Hulkageddon is it had prizes, huge prizes for the top 3 winners usually. And so the first week of Hulkageddon, people would participate in the past, and then they'd realize that they weren't going to win one of those top 3 slots, and then everybody except for the people who are competing for the top spot drops out, and so the number of Hulks being destroyed drops off. So when Goonswarm got involved this time around, we decided that we would spend some of our Technetium riches, and we offered a bounty basically to fund the lower level of Hulkageddon, where for every 10 Hulks or Mackinaws, for every 10 Exhumers you destroy, we made a killboard scraper, and you, doesn't matter who you are because it's automated, get 100 million ISK from Goonswarm for those 10 kills. You can be our enemy, you can be, just some random nobody, you can be whoever, doesn't matter, you'll get the money. And this means that once people started ganking and they reached over that 10 limit and then they got that 100 million from Goonswarm, they just kept going because it becomes a viable profession. And I've been very excited about that because in the past, honestly, past Hulkageddons, they had a lot of PR. There was a lot of discussion on the forums about the idea of it, but there wasn't an equal level of death. And in this case, the amount of ganks are so widespread compared to past Hulkageddons. It's just delightful.
Can you talk to how much has been paid out so far of the 100 million payouts?
I actually couldn't, but I can. I mean, I think it's 10 or 20 billion or something ridiculous. We actually have it on our website. We have, yes. So if you go to hulkageddon.goonswarm.com, it brings up the leaderboard for this go-around, and Goonswarm has paid, it's listed right there, 17.8 billion ISK for almost 7,000 kills in this Hulkageddon, and 4,049 dead Exhumers in specific.
Wow.
Which is delightful. And remember, each Exhumer that's destroyed, each Hulk is 70% of that is made out of Technetium. So what we're seeing here is there's a market shock because the mineral setup has changed, that mining is suddenly profitable because you're not getting refinable mission drops, and the drone regions don't have gun mining anymore. And now Hulkageddon is applying a tremendous amount of pressure in safe high-sec mining. And the net effect of this, not just Hulkageddon, but with the other market factors, but Hulkageddon exacerbates it quite substantially, is making it extremely profitable for our newbies in Goonswarm, who are new to EVE usually. They can mine in Declan, in our territory, and make just an obscene amount of money that way. Mining is again a viable profession in nullsec, and that's partially because supply is so restricted in highsec. And actually, I'll go ahead and let you guys in on a dirty little secret. I'm seriously considering just continuing Hulkageddon indefinitely.
You just gave aneurysms to about 30,000 players, Mittani.
Yes.
I do hope so, because I mean the idea of this Hulkageddon, you'll note the past Hulkageddons only lasted for a week or two. This one was set for an entire month, and my desire, though I didn't explicitly state it at the time, my desire is to get the people who are ganking these Exhumers into seeing it as a profession, to enjoy the fact that Goonswarm pays them and see that payment as being reliable, and then maybe we just keep doing it forever. I mean, we can afford it. It's quite affordable for an alliance of our size.
It's like the New Jack City circle of ganking.
Pretty much, yeah.
Wow, I can see the possibilities already. Holy shit.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, we Goonswarm is an alliance of griefers. We are the worst human beings on the internet, and it only makes sense for us to forge an alliance over a long term with the low sec and high sec gankers, because they might be in a different region, but they're fundamentally they have the same mindset as Goonswarm.
Wow. Okay. Scott, you got anything on that before we move on?
No, I was just going to add, and Hulkageddon, of course, comes on the tail end of the Burn Jita campaign.
It does.
And I've heard rumor that there's going to be a Burn Amar and possibly a Burn Dodixie campaign as well.
I think it's quite interesting to see how people have attempted to accelerate a spread of terror based upon the Burn Jita campaign. There are a number of rumors flying around, none of which I will confirm or deny. It is obvious that Goonswarm will return to a trade hub and do what we did in Jita. It's just too much fun, and it results in too much chaos. It's also quite profitable for us. But I'm not going to say where we will strike or when we will strike. One of the most intriguing things about Burn Jita was how unprepared people were for it. We gave more than a month's notice. We were very loud about the fact that we were going to go to Jita. And people still died in droves like idiots, and the defenders were completely unable to stop us. Which, of course, made us all think that what we should do next time is not announce it to anyone, except probably a little heads up to CCP so they can reinforce the servers, and just show up, no warning whatsoever, and blow everything up. So that's probably what we'll do next time. No warning.
It's amazing that you bring that up, because one of Jade's co-host Rundle over on Lost and Eve had brought up that he was talking to somebody in a belt on an alt about, hey, aren't you worried out here about Hulkageddon? And this guy who had been in the game for like 7 years was like, what's Hulkageddon? And it was just shocking. I don't know if it's because I'm a podcaster or and I read the news all the time, but I was like, oh my god, how can someone not know what's been going on for a month now?
It's quite interesting, actually. I'm thinking about writing Actually, I'm probably supposed to be writing a column about this tonight, but I got distracted. The next column I'm going to write for my Tent on Hammer piece is relating to that. It's the sort of illusion of safety, the presumption of safety that people has. So many people in this game are not plugged into the community. I mean, the forums in any major MMO account for only 3% of the population. So with Burn Jita and with Hulkageddon, you really do see that the community that is plugged into the game, that does podcasting, that pays attention to forums, that participates in Twitter, et cetera, can be entirely aware of what's going on with Hulkageddon, with Burn Jita, et cetera. But there's this huge silent majority of people who are basically playing EVE like it's a single-player game. They're just completely blind, deaf, and dumb. And the only time that they wake up and realize that they are actually playing a multiplayer PvP game instead of a spreadsheet simulator is when some asshole drops a Brutix on them and kills them. Or I suppose in the modern era, a Catalyst. But there you go.
Scott, anything?
Yeah, I actually had two questions for you. One you might not be able to speak to, but I thought I'd ask anyway. On your website, there was a please register if you would like to not be shot and still travel to Jita. Was that how well was that upheld? Because I know there was a lot of different allies and additional griefer forces that moved in to assist you in your burning campaign. Did those people who signed up get the free pass, the Freeport pass that they were looking for? Or was that another big grief?
Just so you know, he's been dying to ask this for like a month.
Well, of course we obeyed it. I mean, Goonswarm has always been a very honorable alliance. Actually, you might not realize this, but we have a very long Southern Baptist history. It's an evangelical organization, and as good Christians, in Goonswarm we honor our word. And so the accusations of that, pass into Jita being illegitimate or it being a scam, I vehemently deny it. And it is a sad state of affairs in Eve that people would accuse us of reneging on such a deal.
So that'll be offered in future operations that may or may not happen.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, just making sure I put that PSA out there.
I don't know whether we would be able to offer the protection service, because the protection service for Jita was very obviously contingent on the fact that we gave so much notice, right? So people had been inquiring about it in advance. We sell Hulkageddon passes as well. We did that during the ice interdiction too. A lot of people took us up on those offers to be added to a list where we give you blue standings and we don't blow up your exhumer. If you are a sensible miner and you're anywhere near Goonswarm and HiSec, you'd be a fool not to respond. And those offers are typically made. Goons will run around and see if people are in a belt mining, and they'll give them the pitch. And a lot of people are skeptical about it, but we're true to our words.
So remember, kiddies, they'll grief the fuck out of you, but if you sign up on their forum, you won't get killed.
Exactly. It's like the security deposit for joining Goonswarm. I mean, they showed it at the presentation in FanFest. The chief marketing officer of the company got up there and said, once you pay your 500 million ISK security deposit, everything changes.
Well, that's fantastic. Did you have a follow-up question for that, Scott?
Yeah, actually, you had mentioned CCP and notifying them beforehand to reinforce the node. And an idea we've been kind of kicking around, kind of the tinfoil hat theory, is some of these operations intending to try to elicit some form of response from CCP, especially with Dust coming out this year, and like Incarna, so many variables up in the air that have not been answered.
I don't really understand how me telling my people to burn Jita to the ground would elicit a response from CCP other than, hey, cool. There was kind of a question as to how they would take it, but I was fairly certain that they would take it in stride and do what the sensible thing to do was, which was to use it as an opportunity for good marketing. They got a ton of amazing press about it, and it's the good kind of press, not the I tell somebody to kill themselves on live TV kind of press. So I don't really worry about CCP. I'm not trying to leverage CCP to do one thing or another with these. This is just Goonswarm being Goonswarm, and our motivations for these things is primarily economic. It makes us money. It's a combination of it. It entertains our troops. It makes us money. It makes people who we don't like cry. And that's, three good motivations. Any one of those motivations would stand on their own, but when you combine them all together, you get Jita burning.
Absolutely. I suspected that was the case. I just wanted to... I've heard that theory kicked around in so many forums and tweets. It's like, let's just address it while we got you on the line.
Yeah,
so,
people have almost sort of a paranoid schizophrenic view of us. A lot of times our motivations are extremely obvious. Sometimes, a rose is just a rose. And, I'm in the Dust beta, just like everybody who went to FanFest, and there's no... it's not even a rational conspiracy theory, what you just suggested. It's occasionally we'll encounter conspiracy theories where people will suggest one or two things and be like, well, that's plausible. It's not what's going on, but it's plausible. But that suggestion is not even plausible.
Well, good. We can throw that one in the trash then, finally.
Thank God.
Yeah. Okay, Ministry of Love. Getting a little bit of press. We hear some interesting things coming out about that. Is there anything you can tell us about it? Operations, not necessarily in depth, but like, are they on operation? How are things going?
What's the Ministry of Love?
Okay.
Is this part of our Christian outreach program again?
I believe so. I think it was started around 1984.
Yes, I think so. No, what do you want to ask about the ministry?
I guess my question is, I know it's been around for a little bit now, and are operations going well, and are you satisfied with their performance?
I am pleased. Actually, I'm quite pleased. Things have been going quite well. We don't make noise about it. The ministry doesn't officially exist, and what the ministry does is classified. But so far it's been quite successful. They don't really leave much of a wake, but you'll occasionally see someone howling about them on the forums, and that's sort of a sign that they're doing good work.
2 more things, and then we can let you go so you can go enjoy your holiday weekend. Mm-hmm. Number 1, we've heard some floatings from other podcasts that goons are going to war within the next 30 days. Anything you can tell us about that?
Not really, no. I mean, I've announced that we're going to go set something on fire, but one does not tip one's hand. And
this one is another tinfoil hatty one. All us podcasters have been hearing from Mr. Black lately, and of course I'm sure you've heard the rumor that you are Mr. Black. Would you like to take the opportunity to clarify whether you are or not Mr. Black?
Obviously not, no. The Eve Skunk project is not my style. I don't believe in sharing intelligence at all. I have the foundation of Goonswarm's power has always been the GIA. It's been our great equalizer throughout history. Back in the day when we had no skill points and we had no ships and we had no technetium, it was the ruthlessness of our agents that allowed us to do things like disband Bob, etc. We work in the shadows. We would not post public API data for the very simple reason that, Eve Skunk has essentially ruined its own source of intel, right? I mean, when you post up online for anybody to see, hey guys, we have your API and we're reading your alliance mails, you go to eveskunk.com, you take a look and you see just one after another, these guys are going, okay, well, we'll stop using alliance mails. And then all the intel dries up. So it's sort of foolish and self-defeating, and I have nothing to do with that. If I get somebody's API, they'll never find out about it.
Yeah, we figured that really wasn't your style. Any plans to go to Eve Vegas?
Yeah, I think I'm actually giving a presentation there.
Okay, well, you'll have a chance to meet Mr. Black then, because apparently he's going to take off the hood and drop the cancer kazoo and show who he really is.
Well, that should be entertaining.
That's what I figure, too. So, Scott, you got anything else before we turn over the floor to Mittani for closing comments?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Well, sir, again, we didn't want to keep you all night. It's a holiday weekend. We really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us. Anything you want to say before we close up?
No, not really. Just thanks for having me on. It's been fun.
No problem. We'd like to have you back again in the future when you're not busy with the family or blowing shit up and causing your heat sinks to explode and whatnot.
Exactly.
So, all right, well, enjoy your canoe trip, and seriously, thank you very much for coming on.
No problem at all. Cheers, guys.
Have a good weekend.
Thanks, Spence.
Welcome to Summer Blink, where we give away hundreds of billions in free items weekly, and we hand out over $1 trillion in lotto winnings daily. Summer Blink, micro lotteries that finish in minutes.
All opinions and views expressed or published in this podcast are matters of public importance that require fair exchange of views concerning potential outcomes of any political decisions made by the alliances of New Eden from time to time. They are intended to generate public debate so as to facilitate and or correct misconceptions and actions which might tend to undermine the involved parties. 10 Evening News takes no responsibilities for the opinions published. Got something to share? Email eve@tacticalentertainment.tv.